Hello, good to be with you again today.
Hi. And welcome to our daily reflection from the YouVersion verse of the day. And thanks to all those who have given us a bit of feedback and said, thanks, you're finding it helpful, particularly at this moment in time of the COVID-19 crisis that's really sweeping the world. And whether you're cooped up in your home or whatever you're doing, it's good to know that we can be of some assistance in that journey.
That's right. And if you wanted to leave a comment on the YouTube options there or share any of these reflections, we'd love you to do that. That'd be great.
Yeah. So today?
It's from Psalm 24, one of David's Psalms, and very familiar words to me anyway. Verse 1, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. Yeah. Which is astounding, really, that David had a perspective, a global perspective, even back then. And here we are, we're more aware of the full extent of the world in a way that David never was. And yet here we are living in a point in history when we're more combined together as a global entity than ever before too, I think.
So it's a good reminder for us. You know, when David used the word world, he wouldn't have been thinking of a globe as we do. He wouldn't have been thinking of it in all the different ethnicities and countries and continents that we know, and yet it still holds true.
It does, yeah.
And what a good reminder for us, particularly amid what's happening in the world, to know that really it's God's world. Planet Earth belongs to God before it belongs to us. In a real way, we're just stewards of this planet. We're not the people who are owning it, who are running it. Yes, we've got a big hand in that, and yes, governments have a real try at sorting things through in midst of panics like we've got at the moment. But ultimately, it's in God's hands, and that's good news.
Yeah, it reminds me a little bit of owning a house and or renting a house. That we, most of our lives, we've been in the rental market, and so
when you say we, you mean you and I.
Yeah. And so we would always try and look after the house well on behalf of the owner. That was our intent. So we look after the garden and make sure that things were maintained well,
and leave it in a better condition than what we found it in.
Yeah, that was our aim.
And even in our house here now,
where we live,
we recognise that while we're living it and we own it, or the bank owns it, or whatever,
how we like to put it,
other people will live in this house after us. So what is it for us to be good stewards of this house while we're in it and pass it on well? And I think that is a good illustration, Jenny, of what this world is. You know, we're only here for a short period of time, and we do pass it on to the next generation. And so it's good to be reminded that that's what we're called to do, how we're called to live in this world.
Yeah. So David's psalm it's quite extensive. What else? What's the overall theme, do you think, of Psalm 24?
Well, he's really calling the nation of Israel to welcome God into their lives, recognising that God is one who... now, it's interesting, David has this understanding that God is one who needs to be invited into our lives. It's not just God doesn't demand it, God asks us to open our hearts and open our communities to him coming and being part of it. And so this is really an encouragement to lift up your heads, to open the gates, to allow God to come into our midst and be the one who leads us and guides us. And that's probably a good place for us in the midst of this COVID-19 crisis to be reminded that it is God's world, and what is it for us to invite God into our world, into our days, into our moments, wherever we might be during this moment in time.
Yeah, and so that gives a good little action point for today, is to have an attitude of gratitude, of allowing the world that we see to be something we can be very grateful for, even if we can't go out into it or enter into it in the normal way we do. What can we do to be thankful?
Because it is God's, and he's shared it with us, and that's a wonderful thing. And what is it also David says? To seek him, to actually be in a journey of saying, God, I really want to know you better, I want to know you deeper, I want to know your love in a fuller way. And so this is an invitation to do that.
Yes, so here we are with weeks of different life, doing things in a different way, and maybe one of the things you can sharpen up is your relationship with God and the way in which you are a disciple. What can you do in that space this week?
That's right. The world is the Lord's. Let's give him thanks for it. Blessings.
Okay. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.